Hello and welcome back to the LoBo Designs channel. This is Heather Lynn, owner of LoBo Designs, here today with an Adobe Illustrator tutorial on offsets, knockouts, and the Pathfinder panel. These are the most often used tools within Adobe Illustrator when creating projects for laser cutting, creating SVGs, and other things. Once you're familiar with the Pathfinder panel and how to do offsets and knockouts, you'll be smooth sailing to pretty much create anything that you'd like. Today we're going to be focused on creating this mom keychain, but you can apply anything that you learn in today's lesson to future projects. So let's dive in. For the first piece of this project, we're going to be using the text tool from the menu on the left. It may be on the right part of your screen depending on how you have your layout set up. You could also hit T as in Thomas or as in text on your keyboard to access this quickly. You will notice in my tutorials that I very rarely use the icons in this menu on the left-hand side. I most always use the keyboard shortcuts unless there isn't one. So you will hear me tell you the letter on your keyboard, and I will also show you how to access the tool or the menu that I'm going to with my shortcut, just so you can see both options. I find the keyboard shortcuts and the hotkeys to be very helpful in time saving. So again, T on your keyboard, or T over here, the text tool, the type tool. It's not called the text tool. Look at that. Learned something new today. The type tool. And you're just going to click anywhere on your artboard, your canvas, your document, whatever you want to call this. I'm going to type out the word mom. And I'm going to then select it. I'm still using the text tool, as you can see here. So we're going to switch over to the selection tool, which is this top arrow here, or V as in Victor on your keyboard. When you select mom here, you will be able to scale to size to make it larger if you hold down the Shift key on your keyboard. Shift, click and drag, make it a little bit larger just so you can see what you're working with. You don't have to do that if you don't need to, but I always make everything larger just so I can see it in the meantime. Again, I'm going to go back to the text, the type tool, T on your keyboard. I'm going to type out the word Logan. Again, with the selection tool, V on your keyboard, make this a little bit bigger, holding down Shift. And just a little tip on here, if you ever need to know, when you're making it larger, if you hold down Shift Option, I'm on a Mac. I don't know what the keyboard shortcut is on a Windows. I'm guessing maybe Shift Alt, but Shift Option, you can size from center. So you'll notice if I let go of Option, it's going to size from where I'm dragging it. If you hold down Option, it'll size from center. That helps a lot when you've already had everything centered and you don't want to have to recenter, but you do have to make something larger. So I really, really like that option that's in there, and I didn't know that it existed until a few months ago. So that was a very awesome discovery. So for here, we're just going to change Logan's name over to the Sophia Ronald script font. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the N in Logan, and I'm going to select this glyph down here to add the heart at the end. Same with the L. I'm going to select the L, add the heart in the beginning, and there we have our text. Whoop! Didn't mean to put that V in there. Going back to, why won't it let me out? There we go. Okay, so going back to the selection tool, V, arrow up at the top. So now you can drag everything around. We have our text. Now what we're going to move into next is how to create outlines on your text and add a stroke to this bottom font so that we can make it a little bit thicker for engraving. I prefer to thicken up these thinner script fonts when I'm engraving them, just because you tend to lose these finer details if you don't bulk them up a bit, especially for smaller engraves like a keychain. So next we'll move on to how to expand, add a stroke, and create outlines, and then we'll move into the offset knockout process. Now that we have our text ready, we are good to create outlines. So using your selection tool, V on the keyboard, select the mom text, and using the quick actions, create outlines down here, or you can do Command-Shift-O on your keyboard to create outlines. And what you will notice now is as I'm switching back and forth between outline view and regular view or normal view, you'll notice that mom is now a vector version of that font. Logan is still in the editable version of that text/font. So right now, mom would be able to be cut on a laser. Logan would not be able to be cut on a laser, if that helps a lot at all. And then with Logan, what we're going to do is I'm going to add a stroke before I expand this. So selecting Logan with the selection tool, and then go over into your appearance panel under stroke. And I'm going to do a 4-point stroke on this one just because I want to thicken it up a bit before I do any kind of an offset, just to make sure that I don't lose the details when I'm engraving, especially on the ends of these glyphs here. And then what I also would like to do is I want to shorten this glyph a bit, because I really don't like how this one is a lot longer than the one at the end. So what we'll do here first is we're going to create outlines. So again, Command-Shift-O, or create outlines over here. And what you'll see is it didn't recognize the stroke yet. I'm zooming in by holding down Option and scrolling with my mouse. You can also zoom in on your PC the same way you normally do. I believe you can do Command+ or Command- to zoom in and out as well. But you'll notice here that it's not welded yet, and it hasn't expanded to the outside of our stroke. So if you look at outline view, notice how this outside of the black, we lose it. So what you're going to do is, I'm going to zoom out a bit so you can see it. I'm going to go up into the object panel, into expand. You're going to click OK. All of this should default. Click OK on that pop-up, and then you'll notice it has created more outlines to make sure that it has encompassed everything. And then while you still have that all selected, you're going to go over into the Pathfinder panel and you're going to click Unite. It's the icon that looks like two squares that are merged into one, solid squares. And then once you do that, it will turn into, again, outline view is Command Y. If you haven't seen any of my other tutorials, Command Y will show you your cut paths, let's say. It's called outline view. I work in outline view a lot just to make sure that I don't miss any invisible nodes, paths that I may not see in normal view. And then what we're at here, I stuttered a little bit there. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to shorten this glyph, and I'm going to make it look a little bit ugly for a second, so please stay with me. I'm using the direct selection tool. The A key on your keyboard, A is an apple. It is the solid arrow underneath the selection tool in your menu. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the part of this that I want to move over and how to shorten it. So right now it looks like I have all of this selected, but I really only have this end selected. And I'm going to hold down Shift on my keyboard and use the arrow key to shift to the right. Just stay with me. This is about to get a little bit ugly. That looks like it's probably going to work. Okay, so we're going to get out of this. I'm going to off click. So I'm selecting anywhere on the artboard that isn't what I'm working on. Now I have nothing selected. I'm going to go back to the selection tool, which is V on the keyboard again. You're going to select your shape, and then you're going to hit N as in Nancy on the keyboard, or you're going to go up here into your pencil tool. And we are about to edit this line, and watch how easy this is. I'm zooming in just so you can see a little bit more of what I'm doing. I'm going to redraw this path so that it meets right here. And then I'm going to redraw this path so that it meets right there. And then you can just clean it up a little bit just to make it look like you want it to look. It's a little bit off here. You get the point. You can play with that a little bit. Let's zoom out. So now we've shortened it a little bit, and I think that that's going to work better for centering. Logan looks more in the middle there. It's a little wonky. Let's zoom in here. Clean this up just a little bit more. And that's just going to have to do for a tutorial. Let's round that out just a bit. Okay. So now we have our text set up and ready. If you look in outline view, we are ready to go. And the next step is going to be adding the offsets. For this project, I'm going to add a thinner offset to Logan than I will to the mom. I'm also going to condense the empty space between the characters on mom. That's a personal preference. You don't have to do that. You can also do that when you're typing by using the kerning. I prefer to do it after the fact because I like to kind of be able to move it around on my own, play with it, see how it fits with the Logan on top of it. So I'll show you my process. You don't have to follow everything I'm doing. Obviously, you can play with it however you'd like. These are just the basics to get you started. So for Logan, let's start that one. I'm going to go into Object, Path, Offset Path. And what I do for offsets is I always make a copy of what I'm working with just in case I lose it. So you can select it, Ctrl+C on your keyboard, or you can go into edit copy just so that you have a copy stored. And I'll show you how easy it is to paste it back after you create the offset. Not everybody does it this way. This is my own personal preference. There are obviously other ways to do this, but this is what I do. So I have a copy of this saved. I'm going up into, after I have this selected, up into Object, Path, Offset Path. That is huge. We do not need it that big. I'm going to do a 0.1 inch offset. My joins I'm going to have as round. I very rarely use miter or beveled. It just changes the way that the corners look. I'll show you what mitered looks when we do the mom, because you'll be able to see it more up here. The corners are at a harsh 90-degree angle for the miter. So I prefer the rounded. It just looks cleaner to me. It's a personal preference. So once you have all of this set, my under limit is 4 at the default. I always just leave that. It doesn't make a difference for rounded, I don't believe. If it does, please correct me in the comments. And then click OK. What I do for this is I select everything. I then go into Pathfinder, I Unite, and then I clean up the center. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going into outline mode, Command Y, or you can go into, I believe, view outline mode. I don't remember how to find it, but it's Command Y or Control Y on your keyboard. And then I'm going to switch over to the direct selection tool again, which is the solid arrow or the A key on your keyboard. And I'm going to get rid of these insides because I don't like when they're there. So clicking once with the direct selection tool and hitting delete twice on your keyboard will get rid of any extra nodes paths that you need to get rid of. So delete, delete. And now we just have the outline. I'm going to switch back over to regular view, selection tool V key on your keyboard, select your outline, and I'm going to swap this from fill to stroke by clicking this little arrow, the swap fill and stroke. You can also do Shift+X on your keyboard, which will switch it from the solid black color that you have to the, as the fill, to the black color as the outline. So switch that. And then remember when I made a copy of Logan earlier, I'm going to paste that back in place by Control+F by pasting it in front. So Command+F. It will be Control+F on a Windows. So now we have Logan, which will be engraved, the offset, which is going to be the cut path. So I'm going to change that to red right now, just so that I forget. It's not going to technically be a cut path for us because we're going to use it as the knockout from mom, but I just keep that separate so I remember that there's something I need to do with it. And next we'll move on to the offset for mom. For the offset for mom, we already have it grouped together. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to ungroup, which is Command-Shift+G on your keyboard, or you can right click and do ungroup if it's there. I'll just show you what it looks like. Group that real quick. Ungroup here. So again, Command-Shift+G, Ctrl+Shift+G if you're on a Windows. And now you can do whatever you want with these letters because they're not grouped all together. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move these over a little bit. I'm holding down the Shift key. You can move objects with the arrows on your keyboard. Let me undo that so they're all in the right spot. So see how 1, 2, 1, 2, they're moving back and forth. If you hold down Shift, they'll move more further, I guess you would say. So I'm going to hold down Shift and move these over 2. I just like the way that looks. I don't like a lot of empty space in the middle. And then I'm going to select all 3 of these and I'm going to make them a compound shape. So I'm either going to go into Object, Path. Can you tell I only use hotkeys? Object. Let's play this game. I'm going to find it. Compound Path. There we go. Object, Compound Path Make, or you can select it and hit Command-8 on your keyboard, and now it's a compound path. And the reason that I like to do the compound path is because when you do the knockout method, if you don't have these set as a compound path, when you do the first knockout, you will lose the other 2 letters because they're not connected. So right now, Adobe is recognizing these all as one shape, so when I do a knockout from the one shape, it will knock out of all 3. You'll see. So I am going to select both of these at the bottom and I'm going to group them. So I'm going to right click, or actually over here in the right side, group, or Command-G on your keyboard. Again, if you notice, the other one was Command-Shift+G. So Command-G is group, Command-Shift+G is ungroup. You'll notice that the shift version of a lot of your hotkeys is the opposite. Like Ctrl+Z or Command-Z is undo, Command-Shift+Z is redo. So I am the hotkey queen. I don't like to call myself a queen, but I really honestly do use hotkeys for everything. I hate using the mouse if I don't have to. So what I'm going to do here is, while these are grouped, I'm going to center it with the mom. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select them both. And up here in the Align Objects panel, I'm going to align vertically and horizontally. And then when I have a shape that has a descender like this, I like to shift it down a little bit. I just prefer that method. So I think that'll sit well there. And what we're going to do is we're just going to leave that there for a second. We're going to create the mom offset now. So you're going to click on Mom, Object, Path, Offset Path, and I'm going to make this one bigger. Yeah, let's do it. I'm going to do a 0.4. Oh, you know what I forgot? One second. We're going to make a copy of Mom, and then we're going to do the offset. So Object, Path, I did Ctrl+C or Command+C to make a copy. Path, Offset Path, 0.4, and I just want to show you the difference. See what miter does? Bevel. It's just a matter of how you want it to look. So we're going to go with round just because that's the way I like it. Click OK. And then you're going to select everything except for the logan in the middle or the text in the middle. And all I did for that was I selected everything. I held down Shift and deselected the logan. And then I'm going to go into the Pathfinder panel again, the Unite option. Okay. And then Mom now is filled. So what you want to do is you want to change that to a stroke. And an easy way to do that, I want to change it to a red stroke. So I'm going to use the eyedropper tool, hitting the I on your keyboard, or you can go over to the eyedropper tool on the left-hand side. I have Mom selected, and I'm just going to click on the logan, the red path on logan, and change Mom to match it. I'm going to get rid of these middle paths like we did before. A key, direct selection key on the keyboard. I like working in outline view for this just because it's easier. Click delete, delete, click delete, delete, and back to regular view. So now we have Mom's outline, we have Logan's group still. We're going to bring Mom back by Command F. We had a copy of that. Remember, you can just paste if you have if you want to, and then recenter it, but Command F will put it right back to where it was. I think you can do paste in place as well. I like the F because it always brings it to the front, and that's normally where I need it. And then we're going to do a knockout. So we're going to bring Logan to the front, click on Logan, right click, arrange, bring forward, or you can always do Command and then this bracket, which is what I use. And then we're going to ungroup, Command-Shift+G, or you can right click ungroup, and you're only going to pick this outline. Okay, so Command-Z, move that back. You're only picking the red outline. Hold down Shift and also select Mom. And then you're going to go over to the minus front in Pathfinder, which is a solid square with an empty square in front of it. And now you have Logan. You have the knockout is out of Mom, but the path itself is gone. And your engrave is there. Your cut path is there for your keychain. And then the only thing that we have left to do is add the hole. So that's our next step, and then we're finished. When I'm creating keychains, I normally gauge for them to be between 2.5 and 3 inches wide. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to downsize this because I'm currently working on a 20-inch wide artboard, document, whatever you want to call it. And I don't need a 20-inch long keychain. So up at the top here, your width and your height underneath the transform panel, you want to make sure that the maintain width and height proportions is selected, or else it will warp when you resize. We're going to change the width to this. Let's just do 3 inches for today. I'm going to zoom in a little bit just so you can see it better. So now we're at the correct width for how we want our keychain, and we just have to add the hole on the side. The way I do this is I create a hole that is 0.25, and then I create another hole that is 0.12. And I'm doing this by, whoa, that didn't work out well. So I'm doing this by using the Ellipse Tool. And that's over here on the left-hand side, the ellipse tool, or you can click L as in love on your keyboard. And then you can click anywhere on your artboard to create the circle. So the 0.25 circle is there. We're going to create one more, 0.12, 0.12. And then I center these both with each other. So I select them both horizontally and vertically align. And then again, I'm going to select both, and I'm going to do minus front again in Pathfinder. If for some reason that does not work, you will get an error. Let me just bring this to the front so you can see. If you get this error, it's because this outside circle is currently sitting in front of the little circle. So all you need to do in this instance is take this outside circle, right click, or arrange, send to back. Or you can use the hotkey like I do, and then try and select them both again and do the minus front, and then you'll notice that they're both the same shape now. So when you get that there's no intersecting paths or whatever that says, it's just because of the way that they're arranged on your artboard. So then next what I want to do is I want to take this circle and I want to put it right here in the center, but I don't want to move this top one. So there's an easy way to do that. If you select this entire shape, and then you're going to, actually, let's just select everything. And then if you click one more time on the object that you're trying to center to, which in this case will be the keychain, it will highlight it again. You can't really tell because it highlighted it bold and red again, but it highlights it twice basically. And then you can do a vertically align. Which one is that? Vertically align, yes. So oh, you know what I forgot? I forgot to group. Let's group these. Select all, Command-G for group, or you can right click on it and select group. Let's move this over here. Select everything again and try one more time. Clicking on the object that there we go. Clicking on the object that we want to stay in place and then align to it. So what I mean is if this is over here and this is over here and you want this to stay up there, you can click and select both of these, click once more up on this top one, and this will jump up to where it belongs versus them both meeting in the middle, if that makes sense. And then now that we know that this is centered, click on it, hold down the Shift key, and you can bring it over to meet where you need it to. Sometimes I overlap, like sometimes I'll put it here, sometimes I like it right in the center there. I'm gonna show you how to do it in the center just so I can also show you how to erase. So right now, let's say we're putting it here. And this is all grouped together, so you want to ungroup it because we're going to edit this outside path, this red path here. That's the only one that I'm going to touch. So I'm going to Command-Shift+G a few times, get this all ungrouped, and then select this outside path. I'm going to go into outline view so you can see it a little more. This outside path I'm selecting. Shift+E on your keyboard or the eraser tool on the left-hand side. I'm getting rid of this inside piece. It's going to create another path here, so don't be alarmed. Most people would think that it's an eraser, so it should just stop where I'm at right now. But when I let go, you'll notice it's going to try and connect this top path to this bottom path. So don't worry about that. Sometimes it throws people off. We don't care about all this because I'm about to merge it. So this looks hideous, but click here, select it. Also select your circle, and then over on the left-hand side for Pathfinder, merge it. And then there's your keychain. So all you needed to do is merge those two together and get that little area out of the way so that when you merge them, you didn't get an extra cut path down the center. I think that there's another tool in Pathfinder that can do that, but sometimes it also creates an extra path inside the negative space for me. So I find it easier to just erase that little section and then merge them together. That's entirely up to you on how you do it. But there you go. So when you export this, all you would do is go up to File, Save As. Let's just say we're going into my downloads. And you would go into, you want to go to SVG. And then I just want to make a note that when you're exporting from Illustrator, I always pick SVG profile, SVG 1.0. I always pick decimal places 3. You will find that if you do decimal places 1, which I believe is the default, I also believe that SVG 3.0 is the default now. But decimal places are very important in keeping your designs intact. I found last year with my florals that when I saved them with SVG 1.0 and only 1 decimal place, my very, very fine details, the paths were shifting when I reopened them. and it was a problem that some of my buyers reported. So thank you to the buyers who reported it. You taught me how to research and investigate, and it was because I wasn't including enough decimal places in my export. So this screen is important. Make sure you pay attention to it when you're exporting. And there's your keychain. And I think that concludes this tutorial. As always, feel free to join us in the Glow Create group on Facebook for additional tips and tricks on how to use Procreate and Adobe Illustrator beyond the screen to turn your digital artwork into physical products. If you enjoyed this video and would like to be notified of future tutorials, please hit the like button and subscribe below. Until next time, this is Heather Lynn of LoBo Design signing off. I'll howl at you later.